eyes are calling, heat and dry. Inside turbulence, drowning the motor and wind. My face in the lying space.
Welcome, welcome. My name is Fiona Fraser. I'm one of the curators at Lismore Regional Gallery, and today we are in the studio with Antoinette O'Brien. Antoinette is the winner of the 2020 Hereford Hardwood Portrait Prize at Lismore Regional Gallery, and the exhibition was over 70 artists selected from entrants from all around Australia. And it's quite unusual in the history of portrait prizes to have the winner be a ceramic artist. But this year, go ceramics. Yes, Antoinette,
yeah, I think
scoop the pool. Yeah.
Big win for ceramics. I think that's really a testament to the judge, to Abdullah, and just having an artist for a judge. I suppose he just thinks and makes those sorts of choices on a different premise.
That's right. Yeah. Traditionally,
because I definitely wasn't expecting it. Let's say that safely.
Traditionally, people think of portrait prizes as being won by painters and perhaps photographers, but increasingly there are more artists working in 3D mediums entering portrait prizes. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Now that isn't the only achievement you've had this year. You've just finished your TAFE course, 3-year.
I've taken a little bit longer than most.
Okay.
It is a 2-year diploma.
Right, okay, great. And last week at Lismore Regional Gallery, the graduating TAFE ceramic students had their exhibition and showed their main body of work. Can you tell us a little bit about your body of work in this show?
So I had 8 pieces in the graduation show that was at the Regional Gallery. A series of ceramic busts and full figure sculptures, and importantly on structures that also make them, they're conceptually significant bases that hold up, figures and busts.
So I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your prize-winning piece in the Hereford Hardwood Portrait Prize. This year, a lot of the entries were COVID affected, let's say, and ended up being self-portraits. Your piece was about someone that was special to you. Can you tell us about that?
Helen was, I didn't know I was making the sculpture of Helen, but I actually started before COVID, so it wasn't a COVID affected piece really for me. But Helen was someone who was present all through my childhood and in the background in a sense, but what I discovered when I realised that I was sculpting her was that someone who's in the background but shows you love ends up being in the foreground in your memory. And that's Helen assisted in my family's home mostly with sort of cleaning duties. She was the cleaner, and she was there because Mum was unwell, but her position just taking a tea break with me and Mum just was where I felt comfortable and safe. And it's really interesting that someone who perhaps isn't given that credit plays that role.
And the piece was called Lacuna.
Yeah, Lacuna is interesting. It refers to the base, but also to lives and the top of the bust as well. Lacuna means a gap which hasn't been filled, so it could be like a gap where a tooth is missing. Since I made that, before I made that sculpture, Helen worked in our family's house because my mum was cook, and since then Helen's daughter has died and my mum has passed. So that sense of a gap where someone is there in that narrative, but also just in who Helen is or in who you are, that you're just someone who can't be replaced. That's what Lacuna is for me.
So Antoinette, when I think of figurative ceramics, I cast my mind back to when I was a child, and the ones I was familiar with were perhaps mass-produced, but often quite demure women with downcast eyes and long frocks. And it strikes me that your work isn't like that at all. I feel like these women are real people who could at any moment blink and come to life, and might give you a bit of lip or
Yeah.
some advice on life.
I think I had some that were appropriately called. I want the pieces to have a more contemporary and relatable feel, and I think I do draw inspiration from friends and peers who are real people, but also from popular culture. And I had a few pieces that were based on, well, just appropriately called slut drop. So yeah, when you were watching them, which is a dance move, you know.
All right.
And it was also about reclaiming the language as well. So I think the word queer used to be a really derogatory term, or even there's a fantastic South Park episode about the word faggot, and just these terms being reclaimed. So slut drop was also about that. But yeah, it's sort of a contemporary dance move, you could say, but it's drawn from lots of different cultures, and it's.
They definitely have attitude, and you have a fantastic capacity for capturing the human figure and emotion in people's faces. Have you always worked in ceramics, or has that come through life drawing, or?
I did, you know, at quite a young age. I know just from, I was really present in art history class, and I was taking it on, you know, from that sort of young age, the sense of a line and how you look at something, and the different things I was exposed to, they've all informed my practice. Like every visit to the gallery, I find a lot of inspiration in art history, and yeah, I haven't had access. It's not easy to access. I suppose with the internet it would be, but formal or sort of training strictly about anatomy. But I do pay attention to that. But I know that I'm well aware that my work is a mix of both that and naivety as well, for a lack of awareness of all of the aspects of anatomy. But I think, yeah, life experience and just observing people every day is what informs the facial features and expression.
So have you always been a ceramicist? Or
No. But I was 18 when I first made a piece that was the same as my practice now. It was from memory, and it was from the people that were around me at the time. So maybe I was 19. Yeah, I was quite young. But I did go to art school, and you don't really find formal ceramics training necessarily in art school. It's more conceptual, which I'm really grateful for as well. But I could leave it for 4 years and find that it was just a natural language that my hands want to interpret things three-dimensionally, you know, out of something that's got that plastic quality. And yeah, I just moved to it.
Just going back to the Portrait Prize, what's the impact of winning a prize for an artist like that?
I suppose confidence in my practice, and the encouragement to continue with it is probably the standout thing, because when you don't have that feedback or acknowledgement, it is really hard to keep going. And yeah, I've had an incredible outpouring of support from all over the community, from friends that I've lost touch with who've seen it advertised in other states, you know, through different resources online, to the neighbours, you know, dropping off cards, and getting to go out to dinner with Brett and Abdul even was like an exceptional experience for me. Yeah, they're really special memories, and yeah, the support sustains the practice. Yeah.
And it looks all right on your CV too.
Yeah, it looks good on the CV, and hopefully it will lead to other things professionally. But yeah.
Excellent. And so you've come to the end of your TAFE body of work, and I guess you're about to launch into the next body of work. Antoinette will be having an exhibition, a solo show at Lismore Regional Gallery coming soon. Keep an eye on our calendar for that. So what sort of ideas are you thinking of exploring for that?
Oh, I would really like to have the time to do some of those other medias, so to have two-dimensional work or even film work in there. But I think that might be ambitious for this show. It is a really slow practice. Like, it takes a month to make a piece. So, you know, if you're thinking over a 3-month time span, that might be 2 to 4 pieces. So I just want to get the sculptures made. I'd like to have a few of this similar themed figurative ceramic pieces in there. But obviously we're impacted by or aware of the different, current, things that we're all impacted by climate change or whatever, and that does feed into different works and ideas that you have. Like with Helen and Lacuna, that these sort of disparate ideas do intersect in our lives, that art's not about for me, my practice is not about any one thing. It's definitely not just about portraiture. It's as equally about climate crisis or, kids not having somewhere to hang out on the street in my town, or the resources that are offered daily. At the end of the street here, you can get a free meal every day of the year. And I watch the people who are part of that culture walk past my studio every day and feel really lucky that I get to intersect with people in that way. Yeah.
Well, I feel absolutely honoured to have been your guest here in your studio today, Antoinette, and I am so excited to see what comes out of your studio for the upcoming exhibition. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you so much, Fiona. Thanks.
Cicadas are calling heat and dry inside turbulence, drowning mud and round wind. My face in the lonely space, trees by the highway